Indians in America are in the spotlight again, not for being tech CEOs or spelling bee champs, but because of the H-1B visas, the aging out or child protection status of visa holders, hate crime directed at them, and rising tensions over immigration policy. This is Quick Take, your quick guide. I'm Smita Prakash. Hate crime. A 50-year-old Indian man, Chandra Nagamalya, was brutally beheaded in front of his wife and son at a Dallas motel on 10th September after a dispute over a washing machine spiraled into unimaginable violence. The man who assaulted Chandra said in an affidavit that he grew enraged because Chandra asked the female colleague to translate what he was saying instead of addressing him directly. Hostility towards Indians, yes, on the rise. Reality check? Despite growing hostility, Indian immigrants remain a high-earning, highly educated group. Many are in critical sectors: tech, health, academia. MAGA critics argue that much of the claims about job loss are exaggerated, misattributed, or ignore structural issues like automation, offshoring, skill gaps, etc. The political conflict isn't monolithic. Even within MAGA, there are splits. Some, notably in tech, defend H-1B as essential for competitiveness for the US. Others attack it as unfair competition to the US workers. What's changed? MAGA pressure builds on H-1B and visa programs. There's renewed intense pressure from MAGA hardliners to ban or modify the H-1B visa program so that fewer Indians benefit. Senator Eric Schmidt recently gave a speech criticizing H-1B visas, calling skilled immigrants cheaper and more compliant, saying that this undermines American workers. Proposals like the HIRE Act of 2025 are being floated. This would impose a 25% tax on US companies hiring foreign workers instead of US citizens, which could hit Indian IT firms and functions significantly. H-4 EAD and spouse work permits under threat. The program that allows spouses of H-1B holders, H-4 visa holders, to work in the US via Employment Authorization Documents (EAD) is again facing uncertainty. Under previous Trump policies, this had been proposed to be scrapped or severely restricted. As of now, the H-4 EAD has been upheld by courts, including in DC Circuit, and it's seen as vulnerable in the future depending on regulatory administrative changes. Aging out child status protection changes. One of the biggest recent changes, USCIS, has rolled back parts of the Child Status Protection Act (CSPA) policy, which protected children of H-1B visa holders from losing covered dependent status once they turn 21 while awaiting green cards. Now, children may lose their status, which is age out, more easily before permanent residency is granted. India-US tensions and diplomatic pushback. India's Ministry of External Affairs (MEA) has repeatedly argued that visa mobility, especially H-1B, benefits both countries, innovation, tech, business ties, etc. But relations have become strained. Recent US tariffs on Indian goods, accusations over India's actions around Russia, Ukraine, and criticism from MAGA voices have mixed trade, diplomacy, and immigration into a broader issues dubbed as cultural clash. Reduction in dependence and industry moves. Some Indian IT firms are cutting back on reliance on bringing people under H-1Bs due to growing complexity, cost, and uncertainty of US immigration rules. They're hiring more locally within the US workforce. Also, domestic H-1B renewal without leaving the US has become a point of advocacy, especially among Indian origin US lawmakers who argue that it should be preserved and streamlined. Context and numbers. Indians still receive a large share of H-1Bs. Over 75% of all H-1B visas go to Indians. The rivalry over these visas is still largely because of the supply of skilled tech engineering graduates from India and demand in the US for those skills. The green card backlog for Indian professionals continues to be very severe, especially for EB2 and EB3 categories. Many families face multi-decade waits. Threats to CSPA and spouse work authorization make this backlog more painful. What's at stake? What to watch? Will the H4 EAD be rolled back or limited through executive order or regulation? How will the aging out changes play out in courts, and how many youth or families will be affected? Will H1B caps be lowered or selection thresholds raised, example higher salaries or skill requirements, to reduce the number of Indian visa holders? How will India respond diplomatically, whether visa mobility becomes a bargaining chip in trade or other negotiations? Impact on US companies that depend on Indian skilled labor if the policies tighten sharply, either in hiring, renewal, or cost. The last quarter of 2025 is going to see some tough negotiations between India and the US.